Cool. CJ, happy to have you here. Appreciate you hopping on. I think to start, can you just give me a quick overview of like what modern agency is, kind of what your approach does that stands out from some of the others?
Yeah. So Modern Agency was first made kind of downstream of the software platform we built. So we went in, we assessed kind of the needs because we were doing uh, a variety of incubated projects under Neon Flux for a long time. As we were building out these incubated brands, we had certain needs on the data side. We built a very strong data team, and initially they were building a lot of internal tools for us to use. And over time, the tools became so powerful, we decided to spin it out as its own software platform. Try to compete with try to compete with a lot of the businesses that were focused on data modeling. So all of these other tech platforms are utilizing
Yeah.
data modeling, and they kind of give fluffed up metrics. So when we built Modern AI, the idea was we have one place where you get source of truth data from the CRM, from Amazon, from wherever we know we're getting source of truth information, we're aggregating it into one place. So that the first component of Modern AI, the software platform, was just source of truth data. And then what happened is as AI kind of became more and more ubiquitous in the industry, we realized, well, kind of ideal scenario for building an AI agent that can optimize and help you optimize the operations and marketing of your e-commerce brand. The first and most important step is to have source of truth data, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't have the AI making decisions off modeled data. You need source of truth. So eventually it became this thing where we have two components. One of them is source of truth for decision making, and AI layered onto that source of truth for uh, kind of more problem solving, right? So all of that is to say, we built this because we were managing these incubated brands that we own or we own major equity stakes in, and we became so efficient with those brands. We realized eventually that we were leaving a ton of money on the table by not opening up agency services. So we spun out the modern agency within the modern AI startup, and we're now taking on a ton of clients. We have a huge amount of demand for this kind of AI and source of truth transparency, right? Because there are two major value propositions of working with modern agency, and one of them is the transparency, right? You're
Yeah.
getting source of truth. You're able to see the source of truth data on what your agent is doing, and then there's the AI component. So we're doing the core agency services, but with a very special and proprietary tech stack behind it.
Do you think a lot of the ecom brands that like come to you for something like this know what they want out of AI, or are they coming to you to have them like to tell them, hey, here's how you should use agents, here's how you should use AI?
I think nobody really knows what they want out of AI at this point. I
Yeah.
think one of the most valuable things is that a lot of e-commerce brands know that agencies are generally very dishonest, um, and having our decisions based off of a source of truth that they have full transparency and access into is a very powerful step in just like there's now this kind of objective radical transparency going on. And then I think there's a general understanding about AI it's important to be at the forefront of AI, right? They want to be working with an agency that's at the forefront of AI and like constantly utilizing, constantly trying to figure out what's the next piece of the puzzle, what's the next service and the next thing that AI can help optimize, even if they understand AI is not fully at the point where it's a massive,
Autonomous.
massive competitive advantage. It's not there yet, but what they want to do is work with people who are looking for every competitive advantage they can get out of AI.
Got it. Okay. And I guess is that like one of the characteristics you're when you are either investing in a company or kind of like taking one of these companies from zero to, seven figures, are you looking for people that have an AI first mindset, or like what are some of those characteristics that like will help you just like help you decide, okay, this is very likely to be a good target for scaling?
Yeah, well, so for modern agency, we're not doing equity deals. Just to be clear, like we're a standard agency, and we have a special, what I think is a very important competitive advantage. when I'm looking at brands that I'm trying to decide if they're a good fit for our work, um, I don't typically think about how AI minded they are. I try to think of it in terms of the like business fundamentals, because we can always explain to them, this is where the AI is currently at. This is what the platform does, uh, kind of prior to AI. This is the value of having the source of truth, transparent data, and this is what the AI is doing right now, and this is what the AI will do in the future. But what we can guarantee to you is one, transparency, and two, a kind of top of the industry knowledge. Right? We have a very, very talented team, um, and we've had some kind of a lot of really strong case studies, even have only being a quick AI startup.
Yeah.
So the proof is already there. But what I'm looking for in brands is like, well, one, do you have enough capital to kind of even hire an agency? Because I think a lot of brands hire agencies without realizing, like, if they're not prepared to scale, if they're not prepared to grow very quickly, the cost of an agency makes no sense, right? So that's kind of one. It's like, what is their capital position? Number two is like, what kind of platforms are they going to be optimal on? Like, I know kind of the common knowledge that I think a lot of brand owners have, and it's frankly incorrect, is that, okay, if my product is for young people, I want to run it on TikTok, and if my product is for old people, I want to run it on Meta. The reality is it's not nearly that simple, and we have a ton of data into the shop, the TikTok shop ecosystem, and we see there are plenty of categories. Some of the biggest categories in there are mostly uh, powered by older customers. Um, you know, Facebook might not be best for a brand if they want to use certain advertising angles and all of that. So there's a lot of that. And then the last and kind of to me most important point is, and actually this ties directly into landing pages, um, is the product meaningfully differentiated, right? Because you could come in with a product that has all the capital in the world, and I've been in this position before. I've worked with brands where they have all the capital in the world, um, and there's just nothing special there, and they're trying to break into an entrenched market, and it's like, sure, we could get there because you have all the capital in the world, um, but I don't think you're going to build any extraordinary valuation. I don't think you're going to build anything that's super extraordinary because you just don't have anything uh, super special, and you're not going to get a kind of discount on the CAC, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what we're looking for with a differentiated product. Is okay. We want to go into this industry. We want to build a business in this industry. We understand that the industry average customer acquisition cost is X, but our product is so special that we can actually achieve a discount on that CAC at scale by 20-30%. And then at that point you have something that makes a lot of sense on the e-commerce ecosystem. One of the most important things when I have a brand new client, um, they kind of don't have any traction yet. um, they don't have any they don't have much D2C sales yet. They
Okay.
just
Yeah.
joined in with the agency, and prior to working with us, they didn't have much traction. What they have is a really cool product. What they have is like a really interesting patented product. Um, and we ran our first round of tests, just whatever content they have, whatever quick edits we made, running to their product page, nothing, like no sales at all. And after 3-4 days of that initial testing, we had our landing page get finished. It was built on Replo, and that's really when you have the opportunity to make the unique value points and the differentiation shine. So this new landing page comes in, it hits in a very coherent, articulate way. It hits all of their core value points, and immediately we start getting sales. Like there's such a dramatic. If you have a product that's well differentiated, the difference between a random product page and a strong landing page could quite literally be like infinite percent difference. You could really go from I'm getting no direct sales, my ads are not converting at all, to all of a sudden I have a funnel that's scaling overnight.
How'd you go about like building that landing page then? Like, do you have like a set kind of
Yeah,
template that you're going off of, or like even for this company, because like maybe it's an education problem. Like, how are you actually deciding what to put
yeah.
on the landing page?
I have a very firm belief that and this is just off of experience, and it's a mixture of kind of operating procedures, and it's a mixture of like what's the easiest and fastest to make where we can immediately get some validation versus what's going to take quite a bit of time of development and copywriting and all that. I typically start all of my brands off with a 5 reasons page, and I really, because there's not that much copy on the page, so you can make sure the copy is really dialed in. So I start off most brands with a 5 reasons listicle page. Typically, I've seen in so many cases where brands will go from either they're getting 0 sales on their ads to now they're getting some sales and we have some data to work with and we can optimize and scale,
Yeah.
or brands that do get sales. And I had one instance. I built a 5 reasons landing page on Replo. The contract started on a Tuesday, and I was just kind of excited to work on this brand, so I built myself a page on Replo over the weekend. So I launched on Tuesday, got the approval on Monday to run the page, launch on Tuesday, and by the end of the week, consistently after that, they were doing their Black Friday revenue from the previous year every day at a lower CPA, and it's a the ability, and this really is like why we believe in Replo as a product. The ability to spin out a 5 reasons landing page, for example, it could be any landing page, but
Yeah.
a good starting point for most brands will be like a 5 reasons listicle. The ability to spin that out uh, in a day uh, is so critical for especially in an agency, right? You want to get a client relationship off to the right foot. You want to show them immediately, like, look, we made you these promises that we are the best in the business. Um, we kind of owe it to them that they see a dramatic jump in performance, like frankly in like week one, right?
Yeah.
Week 1 or 2, we owe it to them a big jump in performance, and the ability to quickly make these pages on Replo is like time and time again. That's one of the vehicle. That's like a core vehicle we've used to like fulfill on that promise.
Got it. And are you just running, so like with this example company you just mentioned, like, is this just one ad set that's running to this 5 reasons landing page? Maybe they don't have that many ads out, like, ads out there right now, but like, how would you determine, like, okay, I'm going to test this on this piece of creative and the rest are going to still run to the PDP?
Um, so it depends on a number of things like the budget, like how much they're willing to spend per day on testing, how much data is in the past. So, the example I gave you of the more recent client, I wanted to run their standard PDP for a couple days with my own account, my own media buying structure, right? I saw
Okay.
their past data, I took their top ads from past data. There really wasn't much in terms of prior performance. I actually might even be oversay. I think they had no sales in
Okay.
previous ads. So I just grabbed the ads I liked the best, kind of subjectively, and I ran them for a few days to the PDP with my account structure. I got the data. I killed that campaign, rolled out the new campaign. In other instances, I've run like a proper like one advantage shopping campaign, for example, if I'm using Meta, one advantage shopping campaign running to the PDP, one advantage shopping campaign with the same ads running to the lander, um, and just time and time again, and I think a lot of people overvalue split testing early on because in reality, there's just, for most split tests, like, for example, if I were to now take this page and make a bunch of B and C versions on it,
Yeah.
they don't have the budget for me to get statistically significant results on a couple minor copy tweaks. That comes later on in the life cycle of the brand when they're actually scaled up. So I don't quite remember the point that I was making when I got to this, but I think the
Yeah.
idea is uh, you just want baseline data from a PDP, and you want to see number one if, and number two by how much you beat that baseline. And
Got it.
from there, it's like, okay, I'll make more landing pages. I'll make ads that specifically align with that landing page. And then once you scale up, then you say, okay, well, now how do I really optimize this landing page? What variables do I start tweaking? Because I don't want to make tweaks just to say, oh, we rolled out these split tests when I know we're never going to ever get statistically significant data on that task.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think what we see too is like, at least for some of the larger brands that have a few different offers they're running for a few different products, they're still running an ad to just one landing page for all of those offers or all of the products, or running it to a collection page, either because they don't have enough time or the resources to actually build, custom flows and funnels. But like, I guess, how would you balance the resource allocation versus like building custom flows for every single offer or product, things like that? I know you mentioned statistical significance, and that obviously comes into play. But are there any other factors you take into account?
So the question is, right, if you have a brand with multiple products and multiple offers, and is that right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you have a brand, multiple offers, and you want to test, let's say buy one get one, or your subscription. You're running people to a subscription page, but you just don't have the resources to create custom funnels or custom pages for every single one of those. Like, how important is it for you to have a custom page or a custom funnel for each, different offer?
Right. Well, okay. So for example, the brand that I recently started working with, where they went from quite literally zero sales to now they're consistently getting sales at like a, you know, they're consistently getting sales. Um, they have five products, and we started with one product.
Okay.
In my philosophy for most of these brands, right? So it's kind of a twofold answer. One is if the brand is not scaled up, then you focus in and dial in on one product and scale that one product. If the brand is fully scaled up, you got to just put the work and get the resources behind. Like, you got to allocate the right resources to it, because if it's a scaled up brand, like, you owe it to that brand is paying tremendous fees.
Yeah.
Um, Assuming that you're an agency that works with, percent of ad spend fees, for example, you kind of owe it to them that you have to make sure you're putting the right resources behind them.
Got it. Yep. Okay.
But
Cool. Makes
this
sense.
other brand that's not scaled yet, the main priority at this moment is let's scale this one SKU, dial that in, and get that to actually um, prove that it can perform at scale, right? Because
Yeah.
performing at a couple $100s a day in spend is nothing, and performing at scale uh, is a big, much bigger lift. And then from there, we have more than enough budget to allocate to. Okay, we're going to test all of these products now with similar or other landing page formats.
Okay, I feel like that's something you've said a couple times now in terms of like how e-commerce brands should think about scaling the business is start with a small subset of potentially what you are, build confidence in that before you then run A/B tests on less traffic and split all that across like different products, different offers. Like, get one that works, and then from there replicate it and find more success.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about that, and it's because in the current ecosystem of Meta and TikTok, even, which are going to probably be most brands' best top of funnel traffic sources, the media buying doesn't take all that much work, right? It's pretty simple at this point. Like, I can manage quite a few brands at once, more than I've ever been able to manage, and it's not because I've become that much faster in building campaigns. It's because building new campaigns is that much less important at this point in the
Got it.
industry.
Yeah.
So when you're actually looking to scale a brand, you should be entirely looking at angle testing with landing pages, and creative testing. Like, those are your two big levers now. It used to be that you can do this audience hacking and whatever, and smart media buying scales a brand, but now there's really two levers. You need to have a baseline understanding and baseline competency in media buying. Once you have that, the two things that you need are quality funnels, quality landing pages, um, and quality creatives. And I think the landing pages are probably slightly more important in that equation than the creatives. I've seen a lot of brands get away with really poor creatives when they have a really good landing page, and I've seen a lot more brands really fumble when they have really cool creatives, but their website is really underwhelming.
Okay. Yeah, and that was actually a question I had because you were talking about AI and kind of how you're adding that into the entire ecosystem that you've got at Modern Agency. But how important is, I guess, like, what aspects of AI are you utilizing? Is it design where you're actually building out creatives with some AI builder in that way, or is it more analyzing the data and like providing unique insights? Like, how are you kind of doing that across the board?
I think it's certainly the latter. It's the ability to have like I said, right? We have the source of truth, right? This is the first platform that's not using any data modeling, any fake numbers, any fluff metrics. It's just the real numbers. And for that reason, right, a lot of agencies that have tried out modern AI
Yeah,
were hesitant to use it because uh, the numbers reported on modern AI, because it's all source of truth, look worse than the numbers reported by like the Facebook Pixel, for example, which
yeah,
uses data modeling, right? So a lot of people are uncomfortable with that because they want to say we had a whatever ROAS when the answer is really 25% less than whatever. Um, that's, I think, very refreshing to clients that don't have to deal with fake metrics from agencies anymore, and they see the source of truth and they see the actual numbers and there's no ambiguity about it. That's kind of number one. uh, but because we have all of that, brings me to number two of the analytics that AI can pull out of source of truth data are extremely deep. And I think one of the critical next steps that we're adding to the platform that I think is going to probably be, it's the tool I'm most excited for. I think if I had to bet, it would be the most powerful tool in the industry, is this sentiment analysis, right? You have source of truth on all of the creatives, all of the landing pages, everything.
yeah, yeah.
And you have a sentiment analysis of all of the creatives and all the landing pages. Now you can run pretty deep comparative analysis with AI of saying, well, this angle, this approach, this sales pitch is generating whatever performance, and this one is 40% better. You're gonna start getting like you're gonna have a place where copywriters, designers, and creative strategists are all aware of a layer of analysis that is really difficult for a human to grasp on their own. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of apps. There's
Especially in that amount of time too. Like,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
maybe if you have, a month, you could figure it out, but by that point, it's already outdated.
Right. Right. Now imagine you can onboard a brand. You onboard a brand if you're an agency or you're a brand and you work with an agency, and on day one they have, months worth of understanding about your
Yeah,
creative
yeah,
history and the angles you've tested with past agencies or in-house. They have that already fully understood because they were able to process an amount of real data, source of truth data, within 15 minutes, because the deep analysis on this alpha we're running is like a 15-minute deep analysis. It's crazy.
okay, yeah, yeah,
But 15 minutes and you now understand all of this stuff, when typically there's a big learning curve when you bring on a new agency. I think most brands understand that and are good with that. But ultimately, like, that's going to change in a big way with AI. Like, that's one of the clear things that AI is going to change.
yeah, totally. Okay. Um, Two last questions I got that are kind of on a different vein, maybe back to something we were starting out with earlier. But you mentioned five things funnel or landing page is kind of like the first go-to spot that you can test out. How do you view quizzes as part of a potential brand? Like, what brand would be good for a quiz funnel versus some other brand?
So what's funny about quizzes is it's actually a really big umbrella term. Um, and the example I always give when people talk about quizzes as a whole is I've worked with a brand where they had a quiz funnel and it was one question, and no matter what it was like an actual like fact-based question, like which of these is, try I forget the question, but it was like which of these is the lead cause of dental decay or something like that. No matter
Sugar.
which one you clicked, it would say correct, and then give you some information about how their product solves a problem that you identified as your guess for the correct
Okay.
answer, and
Yeah.
then it drives you. But I mean, I realize that that's kind of a bastardization of your question. That's not
Well, so
actually.
I was just talking, for example, I was just talking to a brand, kind of similar to what you just mentioned, where they had a little bit more of a complex quiz and they wanted to drive, depending on what your answer was, they wanted to drive you to a custom landing page based off of, maybe it's a collection of products that will help you specifically with whatever this is. But the quiz option that they had only let them drive it to one the same exact landing page for every single answer. So I guess in your case, obviously the ideal would be that you're getting a maybe a unique customer profile, and based off that, you can send them somewhere that is actually providing relevant products, information, something like that that's going to actually give them the information they want. So I guess like is that or you tell me like is that the ideal way to
No, no,
implement the quiz?
I kind of went on a tangent that I realize is kind of an avoidance. It doesn't answer your actual question. It's like, well, funny enough, this one brand did a complete fake quiz. But I think the actual question is like, what does it take to make a brand? Like, what does a brand need to be successful with a proper quiz funnel, right? You answer a question, and there actually is some difference that the way you answer that question, what product it shows you, what additional information it gives you. Uh, First and foremost, I think that is a really strong funnel when it's done correctly. I think most people lack the technical ability
Okay.
make it to make a really good quiz. Um, I think it's very difficult to make a good quiz. I think it is very difficult to, well, first of all, I think most brands, most agencies, most people who work on these brands don't understand the customer personas enough in order to build it, right? They might logically write out these are our customer personas, but it's not data driven, right? And so if it's not data driven, then your quiz is inherently suboptimal. But let's say, for example, you did have a comprehensive understanding of your customer personas and demographics and all of that, and you do build a quiz that has really good questions on it, and you want it to route somewhere meaningful, right? You want it to route somewhere that's a direct reflection of your answers or your problems or whatever it might be. Um, I think most people don't have the technical copywriting abilities to make it
Interesting.
good. I think
Okay.
it's been done many times. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people who try it fail because they lack one of those two things. They either lack the customer understanding or they lack the technical copywriting and design abilities to make a
Interesting.
really, to make several good landers that I think a lot of people they try to make a lander that is a direct reflection of an angle and they miss the mark by a lot.
Okay. Interesting. And then the last question I got for you, bundle builders, who also would be like I guess how would you think about implementing a bundle builder for a brand? Because there's some brands, obviously it maybe doesn't make sense if they only have a few SKUs,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's some where, yeah,
It's a great question. I love bundle builders. I think they're a really strong funnel. I also think I spoke with my team at one point about trying to figure out how do we get a proper bundle builder on Replo. I think the logic I laid out and suggested, and then I caveated this to the team with I don't know how this stuff actually works. This is a guess. Was you need a script that when you click the add to cart button, it stores the
like the selected products, SKUs.
you know what? I'm not even going to go into it because I don't remember
Okay.
exactly what I laid out.
All
But
right. All right.
basically, um, my I have spoken to the team before about adding a bundle builder on Replo, and I think we either weren't able to figure it out or we did figure it out, but it just didn't quite look right. It didn't function quite right. So either it was a limitation on the platform or it was a limitation on what we developed and there were some bugs. But I think a bundle builder is a really powerful thing to add to Replo. I think Magic Spoon's bundle builder page is kind of the proper example of not only do you want this functionality to work, but you also want the ability to dynamically update elements on the page. I don't know if you're familiar with this page I'm
Yeah.
referring to. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
click, I want this, you pick which cereal boxes you want in your cart, in your bundle, and when you click it, there's a dotted line, like a dotted outline of your bundle, and when you
Yep.
click a product, it adds the product image in that dotted line. I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool one. I want to run that for one or two of the brands I work on. I think it'd do really well.
Well, the good news is we have a bundle builder natively in Replo now, so you can use that. You've got the
This is
dotted lines and everything, so
You got the dotted
that'll
line.
yeah, you got the dotted
No,
lines. You
you
can
don't.
add different
No,
variants
you
over there. You can do percent discounts based off of like quantity, or you can do like a set dollar amount based off of like however many you add. But you can do variants, or you can do like single SKUs as well.
That's
So yeah,
fantastic because I told the client that it requires like quite a bit of dev work to get it right. So it'll take us a little while to get the bundle builder built. But
Yeah.
now
Well,
it's
let's get it
natively built
tested.
in
We'll
Replo. So
we'll
we're
make sure
gonna
it's working for you.
the pinnacle of under promise and over deliver, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's great news. That's great news. That's a really great product. Replo is a great product. I remember I used to build on Zipify. I don't even know if that's around. I think it got acquired or something. But Replo's by far the best page builder I used. I still use it. Before we had a proper landing page team, when we were a smaller company and a lot scrappier, I would just get on and crank out Replo pages if needed. Like I'd
Yeah.
spend a couple
Nice
hours.
Friday night.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So big believer in the product. The analytics are fantastic. The analytics are like exactly UTM based analytics. That's what I need in my life, and it's great. So the analytics on Replo are really great. The split testing works. Adding bundle builders is amazing.
Awesome. CJ, I appreciate it. Good to
Thank you
good
so
to
much.
hear it. Thanks for the praise and all the awesome insights. Anything else you want to share before we close this out? Any other quick tidbits or words of wisdom?
No, I think I got everything. I think I hit
All right.
everything I want to talk about. Bye.
All right.